That's why sneezing can be indicative of tiredness and fatigue. This is the easiest tip to combat tiredness. And no, it's not coffee. Please pay attention if you experience these signs. Fatigue can also become dangerous. Are you also one of the 60% of people who feel tired several times a week? There are many reasons for that. You may be suffering from too much stress or from too much pressure, or it could actually be a sign that you are pregnant. If you have only recently started to feel tired, you can use a few tips from me to ensure that you recover quickly from it and feel fitter again. I'll tell you how to do that in this video now. First of all, a very important question. Is fatigue a permanent condition for you? Then be sure to stick with me until the end of this video because it is important to understand. First, you'll learn why constant fatigue is bad. You'll learn when it is too much and that there might be an illness that could also be the underlying cause. In this case, you should definitely do something about it and consult your doctor. This is similar to stress. There is eustress, which is positive stress, and distress, negative stress. And it's the same thing with fatigue. Fatigue can be completely normal, but it can also be the result of certain illnesses or diseases that are dangerous, and you should know the difference. So, now stay awake for a moment and then you will test something with me. I'm about to list 10 reasons that can cause fatigue. I am Dr. Tobias Weigel and would like to make a contribution via my YouTube channel to provide medically understandable and correct information about illnesses and their causes and what we can do about them. I also make videos about current health topics. And I also respond to the wishes of the viewers, which is why I chose this topic today. In order not to miss anything, please subscribe to my channel now. Reason 1. Eating too many simple carbohydrates. You might not even have considered this to be a factor in this at all, but you do it every day, you do it wrong every day, so to speak. A lot of sugar and processed carbohydrates can cause blood sugar levels to rise and fall abruptly. This is, of course, not a good thing and dangerous. And then, when blood sugar levels rise, the pancreas produces large amounts of insulin. It does this in order to get the sugar from the blood back into the cells. As I said, blood sugar levels rise and fall relatively quickly if you consume a lot of sugar, and according to studies, this can lead to you feeling fatigued and experiencing a potential lack of energy. If you feel low on energy, you may feel enticed to reach specifically for refined carbohydrates. These are usually things that contain glucose, sugar, because you want to feel fit again quickly with this. But it doesn't last a long time. However, this can often trigger a vicious circle and then the exact opposite occurs. You feel very, very tired. If you feel tired, you could start by paying attention to your diet and your general eating habits. If you're eating fewer convenience foods and fast food and feeling less tired, then you may have already found a solution that works well for you. Second, just not enough food. This, of course, doesn't mean that you should stop eating because that can result in fatigue just as well. That's quite logical. The best example are crash diets. They work with very severe calorie deficits. Crash diets like to provide meal plans that will lead to a calorie intake that's far too little. If you actually do such a crash diet, your body may not receive enough energy and then shuts down its processes as a result. This is also the case, for example, with these so-called ketosis diets or keto diets. What happens then? In order to function at all, your body needs all of its strength, so to speak. It needs that in order for you to breathe, think, maintain your body temperature, and much more. So if you're on a diet, even the slightest effort can make you feel much more tired than usual. You may have even noticed it yourself already while doing a diet. Therefore, make sure you always eat enough and rather avoid these soup or juice diets. These can actually end up slowing down your metabolism and not lead to the desired effects. This can happen too. A so-called starvation metabolism can occur. A healthy and balanced diet with a lot of variety, that's the better way. I say that again and again. You need vitamins and minerals so that your body can function and better protect itself against diseases. If you still want to lose weight, remember, your calorie deficit must not exceed 500 kilocalories per day. And what is also important, nutrients make us even fitter. Micronutrients are important. I'll go into more detail later in this video about which nutrients can also have a big effect on your tiredness. So stay tuned. Third, not enough protein. We now know that eating too little can make you feel tired and fatigued. Please remember, no more than 500 kilocalories deficit per day. This principle applies not only to your general calorie requirements, it also applies to macro values. What exactly are macro values or macronutrients? These are the carbohydrates, as I already mentioned. They are the bad carbohydrates, fats, and also proteins. And studies have been conducted. According to these studies, people who ate proteins such as fish or eggs at least twice a day ended up feeling less tired. What could be the underlying reason for this? Protein is a source of energy that drives our body like an engine. Carbohydrates do that too, but they provide energy very quick. Protein does it a little slower. That's why this is one of my favorite tips that I tell you in my videos about. Try to start your day with some delicious scrambled egg or a quark with fruit, for example. This will help you to get your day off to a fitter start with some protein already in the morning. Fourth, allergies or intolerances. So this is certainly another reason why you should try to keep an eye on what you eat. Itchy skin, runny nose, gastrointestinal problems. These can all be signs of a potential allergy. Many of us also have intolerances. Gluten intolerance, histamine intolerance, hay fever, to name a few. But the symptoms are not always that easy to link to intolerances. Fatigue may actually be an indication that you should avoid bread or milk due to an intolerance that you are not aware of. If your body is busy defending itself against the allergy or intolerance, this can also make you feel tired and lead to fatigue. Logical, your body is busy. This is a reaction of the body to the intolerance or allergy. It is fighting against something. If you tend to feel tired after a certain meal, this could very well be an indication of an intolerance. It's also important to say at this point, antihistamines, which are the medications often taken against allergies, such as the classic cetirizine, also typically lead to fatigue. That's why you should be careful if you drive a vehicle after taking some medication like that, for example. Fifth, too little sleep. Yes, sure, this reason sounds very obvious at first glance, and I'm sure you expected it to be mentioned in this video, but you could actually be in for a few surprises here. Our need for sleep is individual. Everyone has different needs, but it can be reasonably said that on average, adults need at least 7 hours of sleep per night for a good rest and recovery. But according to several studies, women in particular feel more rested when they sleep longer than 7 hours. In addition, it is not just the duration of sleep that counts, but above all the quality. As is often the case, quantity and quality together. So even after 7 hours of sleep, you might still feel tired and exhausted. You can try a few different things in order to get more restful and recovering sleep. This includes, which is for example my recommendation, introducing a sleep ritual or being physically active during the day, in other words, doing sports. That's always a good idea. If none of this helps, you should go and speak to a doctor about it. Because there might be certain reasons, certain diseases that lead to sleep disorders. Sixth, wrong sleeping times. And yes, I also know this more than well enough. When I work shifts, I'm often up very late, and sometimes I have to catch up on sleep during the day. My sleep-wake rhythm gets completely mixed up as a result. If you work at night, you sleep during the day, then the other way around later. If this happens, it may be that your body cannot be able to recover as well. This is due to the rhythm of the body, which usually aligns itself with the light from the sun. Keyword, melatonin. When it's dark outside, we should go to sleep and rest. When it's bright outside, our body wants to be awake. If we disrupt this natural sleep rhythm of our body, for example, because of our work, chronic fatigue can be the result. Ideally, you should follow this rhythm of your body and also sleep at night. The most important time to sleep is really between 2 and 5 o'clock at night. If this isn't always possible for you, just like it is the case for me, then I have a few tips you and I can try to improve the situation. Seventh, too little vitamin D. So, now it's time to get back to my advice books. That's over 100 pages in here that are just talking about vitamin D. Light can affect more than just your sleep. The light of the sun supplies us with valuable vitamin D. It's not only beneficial for our immune system, but it can also affect how tired or how fit we feel. And very importantly, if you have a vitamin D deficiency, it should be compensated for. And many people in Germany suffer from a vitamin D deficiency. This can lead to fatigue or other symptoms. The special thing about the so-called sun vitamin is the following. We get most of it from the sun, and actually not that much from food. If you are outside a lot in summer, and in the sunlight, you can easily recharge your vitamin D batteries. But the key word here is sun protection. Sun protection does actually stop that recharging a bit. But especially during winters, it is quite difficult to get enough sunlight for the body. The easiest way to get around this is to take food supplements that stabilize vitamin D levels. That is a safe method to do. Point 8, hypothyroidism. The previously mentioned reasons for fatigue are all based more or less on personal behavior. But the following reason is also a very common occurrence. You rarely have any actual influence on the thyroid. If the thyroid produces too few thyroid hormones, this can not only affect organic processes, it can affect a wide range of things, like the metabolism, your nerve cells, and even brain activity. Understandably, this can not only affect your psyche, but also slow down certain physical processes in your body. A typical example of this is having low blood pressure or a low pulse. And as a result, you feel tired, powerless, and exhausted. In this case, it is best to have your thyroid checked out by a doctor. especially if you can rule out the causes of fatigue that I have already mentioned before or the ones I will mention now in the video. In the end, it doesn't really hurt to know if your thyroid is working properly. The doctor often performs a sonogram, an ultrasound, and then, after that, the doctor will also check some blood values. Just go to your doctor at some point and have a checkup performed. 9. Diabetes. Around 11 million people in Germany suffer from diabetes, and it is estimated that around 2 million are unaware that they even have it. And then there's prediabetes, which is being on the verge of it. Even more people don't know about it. And on average, people that suffer from type 2 diabetes live for around 8 years with the disease, without even knowing it. And one of the most common signs of having diabetes can actually be fatigue and being tired. And if your fatigue indicates type 2 diabetes, you can offset around 50% of it by changing your diet, especially at the beginning stages. But in the other half of the cases, you actually have to take tablets or perhaps even inject insulin for certain extreme cases. If you are constantly tired, then according to some studies, this can be an indication of diabetes. You should take this seriously, as unfortunately many people still die from this disease or from the consequences such as heart attacks or the higher risk of strokes and many more. It is therefore very important to clarify this, especially when it comes to diabetes. The earlier it is detected and treated, the better will be the quality of life you have left, so to speak. However, if you suffer from type 1 diabetes, you may also be tired more often. Even if you already know you have the disease, that's also possible. Type 1 diabetes is usually diagnosed at a young age, especially in adolescence or even during childhood. If you are suddenly tired, this may indicate a sudden drop or converse, a rise in blood sugar levels. If you therefore check the value, you can counteract it directly and quickly feel fitter again. You don't know if you have type 1 diabetes? If so, a constant feeling of thirst may also indicate the disease. So check with your doctor whether your blood sugar levels are okay and everything is within acceptable range. No matter whether you have type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes. 10. Infections and other diseases. Perhaps you are tired because you are suffering from an infection at the moment. That makes sense. When you have the flu or a cold, you also feel weak and tired. An infection isn't always noticeable at the beginning through typical symptoms. A bladder infection, for example, does not have to be painful immediately. The flu can also make itself felt gradually and creep up on you. Your immune system fights against pathogens, which is exhausting for your body. Your immune system has to work and subsequently shuts down other functions to do so. Fatigue can therefore be a possible symptom of an infection. If you are tired, this may be an indication that your body is working and already doing its job and fights hard against an infection. And the same thing can happen with diseases of the internal organs. For example, here the fatigue can potentially last longer and be an initial indication. This can happen, for example, for heart problems, cardiac insufficiency, or for problems with the liver or kidneys, the list goes on. All of these potential diseases could essentially result in you feeling tired and exhausted. So, as you can see, there are so many potential causes that make us tired in the short or long term. Go talk to your doctor about the first signs and get it checked out, especially if you suffer from chronic fatigue. There are other signs as well. Bad blood values are typical, so check them out. An example is iron deficiency anemia. Many of us suffer from iron deficiency anemia without knowing it, and iron deficiency often causes fatigue, or fatigue is the first sign of it. Therefore, if you notice that you are permanently tired, go to the doctor and get a physical examination. Because the rule is always the same. Do not self-diagnose yourself. That means do not self-medicate, but do it professionally and in accordance with your doctors. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to write your opinion down in the comments and perhaps the reason why you are regularly tired, and we can discuss it further. Thank you and stay loyal to me.